So you want to get less blisters as a runner. Today I'm going to cover how you can go from getting lots of blisters to pretty much none after an ultramarathon. Let's break it down. So when I ran my first ultramarathon, I had some very beat up feet and I had no clue what I was doing. Now over the course of the years and several 100+ mile ultramarathons later, I now have a really good idea of what I need to do to make sure my feet aren't destroyed after a race. Now let's get into some of the changes I've made. Now the first big change I made was changing my socks. Before I just wear any pair of socks to go for a run, and now when I'm doing my ultramarathons, I make sure I'm wearing toe socks that are made of merino wool. Now when it comes to the toe socks, it just helps separate your toes so your toes aren't rubbing up against each other, because that friction can create some blisters. And in terms of the merino wool, the reason why I like this material is it helps absorb some of the sweat so your feet aren't just soaked from hours of running. My go-to brand for these is Creeper socks. They're recommended by my coach. I have no affiliation with them, but absolutely love the socks. Now when it comes to the socks, don't be afraid to change them. For me personally, when it comes to the Creeper socks, I'll change them about every 12 hours. Every time I change the socks, it feels like I have fresh feet. Now the other thing to think about is your shoes. So we got the socks covered. For your shoes, you also want to make sure you have a nice wide toe box. And the reason is the same thing as the toe socks. You want lots of room for your toes to be able to move. And with the wide toe box, your feet aren't rubbing up against each other, once again creating that friction. In terms of the shoes, the brand I really like is Mount to Coast. They have an adjustable toe box with their R1 shoe. So there's lots of room for your toes. They recently came out with their T1, which is their trail shoe. Also a nice wide toe box, which you can also adjust. Now something that I started doing recently on top of that has helped is using Vaseline or any other petroleum jelly. Now, the nice thing about petroleum jelly or Vaseline is once again, it'll help with the rubbing so your feet aren't rubbing up against each other so much. And now when it comes to this, I usually try to reapply it every 5 hours if I'm doing a backyard ultra. Now when it comes to a point-to-point ultra, I'll try to apply it as often as I can. Now those are the 3 things you can do in a race to make your life a lot better when it comes to blisters. There is one other thing you can do to help drastically decrease those blisters. And it's taken me years to figure this out. Now the reason it took so long is it took years of running to be able to establish this. And that is simply just running more races and running more in general. As I've done more and more races, I've gotten so many blisters throughout the years that it's helped build callus on my feet so they're not as sensitive to the elements. Think of this like weightlifting. You get calluses on your hands, and a lot of times that's if your hands aren't used to using different bars with different knurlings. And over time, as you build more callus from years and years of lifting, you're gonna get way less of it because your hands will be so much tougher. Now the same thing goes with your feet. After years and years of races, your feet are gonna get so much stronger and they're gonna build these calluses where the blisters used to be, so your feet won't blister as easily. So in the past, when I've gotten tons of blisters and I've had a race coming up shortly after, I didn't look at it as a bad thing. I looked at it as an opportunity for my next race to be so much better. Now let's say you do all these things and you still get a blister. Should you pop it? Now this will depend on the person. For me, for years, I didn't pop any of my blisters, but if I go back in time, I definitely would. All that pressure that is created from the blister creates a lot of pain, especially if one of those blisters ends up underneath your toenails, which has happened to me many times. And when I didn't pop those blisters, it would lead to me losing a toenail. Now, if I feel a blister forming, I will then pop it right away. It'll relieve that pressure. And by doing this, this has actually helped me save a couple of toenails. I'll take a sterilized needle or have one of my crew take it and pop the blister, and voila, all the pressure is gone and your feet feel so much better. Now, doing all these things has helped me go from having tons of blisters to having no blisters while running over 100 miles in a backyard ultra. I hope this video helps you for your next race. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks so much for watching and stay tuned for more running content coming your way.